let's talk about coffee, my favorite topic of all. Sorry, I had to censor this slide because I make bulletproof coffee, a special kind of beans. It's illegal in the US for me to make health claims for coffee, so I won't. I'll just censor them because that's the law. Now, coffee is shown in 2 studies to help with maintaining healthy blood glucose levels, which means you should never, ever use coffee to treat unhealthy blood glucose levels. That would be wrong. It does not cause osteoporosis in another study. Coffee drinkers live longer than non-coffee drinkers. It's interesting. Could this be an anti-aging substance? Shocking. It is the #1 source of antioxidants ahead of red wine, where antioxidants are an excuse to get drunk, and even ahead of chocolate. So there are good reasons to consider coffee as something you might want to do. It doesn't decrease insulin sensitivity, which we once thought it did, and you can have a 20% lower risk of And in women, there's 2 benefits. Sorry. Isn't it kind of weird that in the US, if you believe so much in something that you make it and you put years into studying it, that you're no longer allowed to say what it does, even by linking to a study? That's really weird. That's why you hear people who make really high-quality things stand up and say it's really good. And they make the weirdest claims like, it helps to maintain healthy this, that, and the other. It's because we can't tell you what we want to tell you, because then we're selling drugs. So, sorry. But if you did Google for things like, coffee and insert name of health condition here, you would be surprised at what you'd find, because there are amazing studies of coffee's benefits. I can't, though, talk about coffee and performance, because I hate to say this, health is cool, but isn't like kicking ass more cool? Yeah. Fortunately, kicking ass is not a drug claim. In one study from China, they put biosensors on people, remember that, getting the data? And they had them do Qigong meditation. And then they had them drink coffee on a different day. And they found physiological changes, things like heart rate, things like electrical conductivity of the skin. They were the same for people who drank coffee as when they did the Qigong, which is fascinating. Can coffee help your brain work better? Yeah, it kind of can. In fact, it improves short-term memory. Wow, what was I going to say? It improves exercise performance, which is kind of nice because you probably exercise. And it is a potent thermogenic, which means coffee helps your body do what it naturally does to burn fat. And how many of you have heard of mTOR? Like, ooh, check this out. I love this audience. You guys are so cool. mTOR stands for mammalian target of rapamycin. It's what makes you gain muscle. And the way that it works is you suppress mTOR when you do certain things like exercise. And when you're done suppressing it, it bounces back like a pogo stick. And it's that bounce back that makes you build muscle. So there's 3 things that suppress mTOR. One of them is intermittent fasting, something that I'm definitely a fan of, something you've already heard about today. And when you do that, you actually suppress mTOR using coffee. So now you're in this nice state where you're fasting, which suppresses mTOR, and you've added coffee to suppress mTOR. And if you work out, which is the other thing that suppresses mTOR, you've pushed it down in all 3 ways. And then when you finish exercising and you eat, you get a huge surge of mTOR. And this is how, during one of the biohacking experiments I did, where for 2 years I slept less than 5 hours a night, every night, I stopped exercising and I ate 4,500 calories a day. I kind of was expecting to gain a little bit of weight, and then I was then going to blog and say, oh, look, I should have gained like 20 or 30 pounds, and I gained 2 pounds. Therefore, the calorie thing doesn't work. And I was going to do it for a month or 2. I did it for 2 years because I felt amazing. And at the end of the 2 years, I posted a picture of a six-pack that grew, and I got more muscular. I actually put on muscle mass because of the mTOR thing. I was doing intermittent fasting, and I was doing bulletproof coffee in the morning, and the net result there was building muscles without thinking about it. I haven't lifted anything heavy besides my kids in 4 months today, and I have been doing a little bit of electrical stimulation because I'm a biohacker, so I don't want to say that you can just grow muscles like that, but you actually can put on muscle by using things like coffee and intermittent fasting, and that's cool. So to summarize coffee, that's it. Except, there's some things you need to know about coffee. In one study, 91.7% of green coffee had mold toxins in it. When coffee is created, it's grown, and there's agricultural things that affect the coffee. Things like soil conditions, water levels, altitude, insects, fungal problems, chemicals. And then other things happen. We pick the coffee. Is it picked at the right time? Too late? Too early? And then we kind of let it spoil. And that's so we can remove the outer part of the coffee berry or the coffee cherry. And that process is known to create mold toxins in coffee. In fact, it's such a problem that Europe, South Korea, China, and Japan all have standards for one of the 27 types of toxins that I test for in the coffee that I make. And that standard is in the parts per billion range. Single-digit parts per billion. You can't smell or taste that. Guess what the US standard is? Oh, we didn't make one. So if you're wondering what's in the coffee that you conveniently buy in the corner store, I can tell you, it's what the Europeans and much of Asia decided wasn't allowable for their population. Yikes. Other toxins besides mold form during processing, and the process for me of creating the upgraded coffee beans that I've made involved understanding the different sources of the toxins, creating a standard designed for cognitive performance instead of taste or instead of economics, because the entire coffee industry throughout all of history has been make it cheap or make it taste good, and that's it. I want it to feel good, and honestly, I don't care what it tastes. I'm lucky that it tastes really good. Decaf has twice the toxins of non-decaf coffee in studies. Decaf is generally bad for you. I do make a decaf that is Swiss water process right next to the plant where they do Swiss water process using high-quality beans, the same bulletproof process beans that I normally use. And that is the only decaf I would ever touch. Decaf can really make you sick. The symptoms of drinking moldy coffee, this is important, just getting the data, paying attention. No one ever correlates these for you, but you've felt these before. Jittery and anxiety, kind of those feelings. I've had lots of people say, I can't drink coffee because it makes me feel that way. But then, if they have the courage to try a clean cup of coffee using the lab-tested beans, what they end up with is they feel really good, and they don't get that. Adrenal stress, you get tired, you crash. You get the headaches, you felt those. Here's the soreness the next day or 2 days later, yeah, that can happen too. But this last one is a sure giveaway. Peeing a lot. Here's what happens when you're exposed to toxins, whether they're in food or coffee. Caffeine's a very mild diuretic, but coffee, when it makes you have to go, it's because one of the toxins in the coffee, called ochratoxin A, is very bad for your kidneys and your bladder. So you drink the coffee and your body goes, oh my God, what was in here? I better get rid of it. And it goes into the kidneys, they filter it and put it in the bladder. It pulled that liquid out of your plasma. So now you're a little bit dehydrated, but it was way better to be dehydrated as long as you can dilute this toxin, because what is ochratoxin A linked to? Kidney cancer, pancreatic cancer, bladder cancer. So then it says, all right, now I've diluted this as much as I can. Now you have to go pee, like right now, get rid of these toxins, get them out. So when you drink coffee and a half hour later you run into the bathroom, that's a pretty good sign there was something in the coffee that shouldn't have been there in the first place, except in most cases it is. You can do something. You can even make it bulletproof. You start by brewing with lab-tested coffee. You only use a metal filter. You use a metal filter because coffee essential oils are really important. Coffee essential oils make you feel good. And if you use a paper filter, the oils stay there. It also turns out that those oils in coffee have an impact on your brain.